From our studios here in Accra and around the world, this is Joy News, independent, fearless, and credible. Welcome from the weekend. This is The Pulse. And coming up in this Monday's edition, proponents of the controversial Proper Sexual Rights and Ghanaian Family Values Bill take on the Finance Ministry for advising President Akufo-Addo to withhold assent to the bill, citing potential impact on international support. We have details as Ghana stands to lose $3.8 billion if the anti-gay bill is signed by the president.
Tragedy. It's very disappointing that the finance ministry, headed by a minister a while ago who spoke highly about the pride of our country, all of a sudden will be taking this position.
This without any iota of doubt, it's an insult to the good people of this country.
And this is a leaked document. We have details in this document for you this afternoon and explore the ramifications of the Finance Ministry's position as far as the bill is concerned. Also, Electoral Commission releases calendar building up to the general election 2024. We have details as the Commission targets May 7 as the beginning of the voters' registration exercise, which is already generating mixed reaction from political parties. And later in the bulletin, about 250 students of Ejoso Senior Technical School displaced after rainstorm ripped off dormitory block of the school. We are live in the area for details. My name is Elton Brobe. The Pulse is live on DSTV channel 421, Gold TV 125. We are live around the world at myjoyonline.com, of course, on our Facebook and our YouTube pages. Stay with us. Let's start off on this developing story, because this afternoon, proponents of the controversial Proper Sexual Rights and Ghanaian Family Values Bill are taking on the Finance Ministry for advising President Akufo-Addo to refrain from signing the bill into law. In a leaked memo today, Monday, March 4, the Finance Ministry cautioned that Ghana stands to lose about $3.8 billion in financial support from the World Bank over the next 5 to 6 years, adding it could lead to severe repercussions on the country's budget. On your screen now are the key implications to the country as teased out by the Finance Ministry if President Akufo-Addo goes on to assent to the bill. Now, the expected the U.S. $300 million financing from the first Ghana Resilience Recovery Development Policy operation, which is currently pending parliamentary approval, might not be disbursed by the bank when it is approved by Parliament. This is the position taken by the Finance Ministry. Also, the ongoing negotiation on the second Ghana Resilient Recovery Development Policy operation, that's the budget support, amounting to some $300 million, may also be suspended if this bill is given the cover of a law. And it goes on to say that ongoing negotiation for $250 million to support the Ghana Financial Stability Fund may also be suspended, and this is to help banks to recover from the source of COVID-19. And they are saying that that money could be suspended if President Akufo-Addo gives his assent. Also, disbursement of undisbursed amount totaling $2.1 billion for an ongoing project may also be suspended by the World Bank. And also, of course, preparation of pipeline projects and declaration of effectiveness for two projects totaling $900 million may also be suspended, according to the Ministry of Finance, by the World Bank, if Ghana take this hard stance against people who are into gay, lesbianism, and the others that the bill that passed in Parliament is kicking against. Now, Ghana is likely, according to the Finance Ministry, to lose $3.8 billion in the World Bank financing over the next 5 to 6 years. For 2024, Ghana will lose $600 million budget support and another $250 million for the Financing Stability Fund. This will negatively, according to the Ministry of Finance, impact on Ghana's foreign exchange reserve. and also impact on implementation of the 2024 budget. The potential loss of these financial resources creates a financing gap in the 2024 budget that must be addressed either through a significant reduction in the expenditure or additional domestic revenue mobilization. Now, failing this, according to the Ministry of Finance, government's ability to achieve the targets in the 2024 budget will be undermined. The IMF program will be derailed if the bill is given presidential assent. And again, the principles of the current IMF program are built on predictable financing from development partners, including the World Bank. Hence, the non-disbursement of the budget support from the World Bank will derail the IMF program. This, according to the Ministry of Finance, will in turn trigger a market reaction which will affect stability of the exchange rate. And they are talking about the Ghanaian currency against the foreign trading partner, the dollar, the euro, the pound, and they say that it will have some negative impact on the stability of the exchange rate. And of course, negotiation with the official creditor committee and Eurobond holders under Ghana's debt restructuring program is also predicated on the success of the IMF program. Hence, a derailed IMF program, according to the Ministry of Finance, will have dire consequences on the debt restructuring exercise and Ghana's long-term debt sustainability. Meaning we are not out of our economic woes our economic woes yet. So any other thing that will get our partners to withdraw will have severe consequences on our ability to move forward. And the Africa Development Bank, even though here in Africa, has also indicated that the passage of the bill will not have any adverse impact on the cooperation with Ghana. And that is some good news coming from the Africa Development as far as the Finance Ministry is concerned. Now, the Ministry of Finance officials have been informed that the German government is against the passage of the bill, which has already been passed by Parliament. Given Germany's relative strong influence in the European Union and the Official Creditor Committee, there is the need, according to the Finance Ministry, to manage the relationship to forestall a strong negative reaction. And of course, they have some recommendation for governments as it seeks to, as you all await presidential assent, a structured engagement with local conservative forces to communicate the economic implication of the passage of the Anti-LGBTQ Bill. That's one recommendation. The second recommendation is that there should be an effective engagement with conservative countries, including the Arab countries and China, to help trigger resources to fill the potential financial gaps to be created. That is, if the World Bank and the IMF goes through with their threat to withhold some financing for Ghana, because we have passed a bill that seeks to discriminate and prescribe punishment for persons for the LGBTQ community. There's also more recommendation that is coming from the Ministry of Finance, and we'll bring that more to you. But, and again, they are saying that the president may have to defer assenting to the bill until the court rules on the legal issues tabled by key national stakeholders, the CSOs and SHRAG. And as of now, there is no law or there's no suit challenging what Parliament did last Wednesday, even though some 18 CSOs have indicated that they may go to the Supreme Court to seek interpretation as it relates to upholding the rights of individuals regardless of their sexual preference. And the ministry, according to the Ministry of the Finance, will continue to engage with the IMF on the alternative credible sources of funding that will plug the financing gap. And finally, GRA will embark on the vigorous revenue mobilization drive, focusing on implementation of approved measures as well as compliance. And they are saying that if there should be, this law should come to pass, these are some of the recommendations that they put on government. And then the Ministry of Finance will consider possible expenditure rationalization to accommodate the shock for the potential withdrawal of resources. And finally, they make the point that the country must improve on its domestic revenue mobilization effort by working towards medium-term tax revenue to GDP target of 17 to 18%, and eventually wean the country off the unsustainable dependency on development assistance. So this is a leaked memo, supposed to be an internal communication at the Ministry of Finance, but found itself in the media, and that's how come this matter is taking a new life of its own. Now let's get on Zoom and speak to economics Professor John Gache as we try to understand the implications of this bill to our economy. Professor Gachi, you're welcome to the polls, and I trust you had a wonderful weekend.
Thank you for having me.
Right, so the facts are laid bare. I mean, are we in any trouble if we should go ahead with the bill has been passed by Parliament? We're all waiting what President Akufo-Addo's position will be. But as we wait to hear from the President, the Ministry of Finance have put forth some things that we should be mindful of. Are we in any danger of economic consequences should we have this bill turned into law?
Well, I think we need to tackle some of the issues raised by Finance Ministry. First of all, number one, it is not because of anti-LGBTQ law that was passed by government. That is the reason why the GRA will have to intensify domestic revenue mobilization to the target of 17 to 18% of GDP. This has been part of our discussion. These have been part of the budget 2023-2024. So it will not be occasioned by the repercussion of the anti-LGBTQ law. This means that the Finance Ministry, one way or the other, is being used to create some kind of impression that will put pressure on the country to give leeway to the president to sign the bill that was passed into law in Parliament. So that is another dimension to it. So I want to state again that this recommendation that the Finance Ministry put here, the passage of the law that was done in Parliament recently, it is our normal quest to ensure that we achieve that for our country.
But Prof. Gacha, let's run through, especially the World Bank facilities that we are waiting to access, and it amounts to 3.8 billion. Now, the Finance Ministry's memo or communication internally used the word may be suspended. Now, the World Bank and of course the other between institutions, they have a position on LGBTQ and the fact that their rights must be respected. If they should go ahead and hold on to this 3.8 billion, surely it will have an impact on our economy going forward.
Yeah, that is true. If those things were curtailed, it means especially for 2024, we find it very difficult some activities under the budget. But we also need to be very clear in our minds that there is no condition precedent to Ghana in engaging with the IMF. We were not told that one of the conditions is to ensure that we do not pass a law that puts some restriction on LGBT community in Ghana. That was on to, and that against Ghana in any way. Of course, what is happening now is just a normal lobbying that is taking place using our own institution to press on the lobbying button to ensure that the president doesn't sign. See, the idea now is not about the passage, but how do we get the president not to find reason why he will not sign the bill the passage of the law, the proper law, because the lawmaking process ends with the assent to the document. So I believe that we are only in the arena of lobbying because again, we do not have any in the form of LGBTQ before we enter into the IMF program. And the World Bank also doesn't have any condition that states that if a country has, laws limiting LGBTQ, then they cannot get access to their funding. It is all in the realm of lobby. So the World Bank is also lobbying. Some powerful people behind the against the anti-gay, development in the country, are also lobbying. In fact, we need to call a spade a spade. The government has not been very straightforward in dealing with this monster we have on our head called the LGBTQ. There is overwhelming sensitivity against the liberalization of our to accommodate LGBTQ. That is a known fact. So the president ought to speak like President Mills spoke. The president ought to speak like I think the former president Mahama also spoke. For now, we do not know the stand of the president on these matters. We do not know the stand of the vice president who is standing election on these matters. Have known one of them going forward in 2024. All these things we are discussing, the real effect will come on us from 2025. So it's very important to know the two parties' position. Then we know how we want to trade. Of course, it is the right of people to express their misgiving about what is the development going on, the law that is being passed, and the rest. Are actually expressing them. But do we take the expression of those groups to be the majority view? Is there anything in the law that protects the minority view that we are hearing today? Of course, I'm told that when you read section 17 of the Act, there is some protection for the people that we are dealing with.
Exactly, that's very true.
Yes, so we need to look at it holistically. This ministry, which is actually under the governance structure of the country, to just try to position us under the financial pressure that if we are not able to throw away this law, then are going to have some development in our finances, and we don't want that to happen. Therefore, we should throw away that law that was passed. It creates a dicey situation. It's not much.
All right.
I do not believe in the law.
Yes, Prof. Just hold it there for me, because when I come back to you, I just want to find out whether it is your expectation that the World Bank, for example, will not vary the conditions under which they were advancing as this 3.8 billion, because I've looked through the document. There's nowhere a mention is made of Ghana should ensure that they do not pass a law that criminalizes activities of LGBTQ community. There's no such thing, and the conditions are quite clear. There's nothing like this. Do you expect that they will stay with the original condition and not take action that will sort of put us in a corner where we don't want to be? But let's hear from some members of parliament on the minority side who are furious about the finance ministry's advice to President Akufo-Addo on this very matter.
Without any iota of doubt, it's an insult to the good people of this country to say that Ghana, as a sovereign country, as a sovereign independent country, must subsume the rights, interests, and aspirations of people to the altar of the interests and beliefs and values of external bodies like the IMF, World Bank, and WHO. So the interest of the World Bank, IMF, is more than that of Ghanaians. The values of this country, for which we shed blood and obtain our independence, is not worth protecting. But what is worth protecting is the interests and aspirations of the IMF. So it tells you that this is a useless government that doesn't have the interests of the good people of this country at heart. How can anybody argue by any stretch of logic that we should relegate the interests, values, and aspirations of the people of this country to the altar of the interests of external bodies like the IMF and World Bank?
They also finance your economy, your budget. Every year they give you money.
No, brother. So are you telling us, in spite of whatever financial contribution, is more important than the interests of the people of this country?
It's a tragedy. It's very disappointing that the finance ministry, headed by a minister a while ago who spoke highly about the pride of our country, all of a sudden will be taking this position. The president has spoken severally about the need for us to live beyond aid. And I am disappointed that we do not see this as an opportunity to galvanize the collective strength of our citizens and sympathizers to show that we can indeed live beyond aid, especially when that aid is tied to a way of life that is alien to us as a people. Ghanaians have always been a proud people. I agree when the former finance minister said so, and I agree now that we have always been a proud people. And I am scandalized that the ministry considers some of these potential losses, as they put it, as the reason why they think the president should not sign this bill into law. Across the world, there are many other countries that have worse forms of, punishment and restrictions as far as homosexuality and LGBTQ issues are concerned. Yet those countries are thriving and, keeping their relationship with other multilateral agencies. And so I'm surprised that we are afraid that this law will isolate us and affect our relationship with these bilateral institutions. I think that if we rather remain forthright and remain very proud of who we are, and this law reflects who we are, we will be given the respect that we deserve.
To the flag bearer of the MPP, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, to speak on this matter. The former president, John Dramani Mahama, and the candidate for the NDC has spoken, and he has made his position clear. Are you saying that when he comes to power, he will need foreign aid? He's aware of the implications, but he has juxtaposed the harm that this will cause us vis-a-vis the income or the wealth that we are going to get from foreign aid. And that's how we have to look at it. That's the perspective in which we have to look at it. It's so shameful, and I'm a very sad person to.
And you heard the Member of Parliament for Sawirigu Alhaji ABF Hussein, MP for Bole, Bamboy Yusuf Sulemana, and co-sponsor of the bill, Al-Hassan Sohinin, venting their anger. I still have on via Zoom Professor Gaj. So, Professor, I asked a question before we heard from the MPs, and I asked whether it is your expectation that the World Bank will not vary the conditions under which they entered into this agreement with Ghana, that we are waiting for the release of this money, just because we've taken a position in our parliament that may not sit with some of their values.
Well, I keep indicating that this thing is just trying to keep the momentum about lobbying. We do not have those things as conditions in engaging with the World Bank or the IMF. There are other minority issues in our country. There are other vulnerable issues in our countries. It is based on those things that we are getting development funding from the World Bank to fund development to benefit all these classes of people. So the World Bank cannot say that because of the anti-LGBTQ issues, they will not extend money to us, which of course is a loan that will be paid over time. I do not see that. What I see is a strong force of lobbying that the law should not be passed. That's where we are now. And I'm not sure that there's any pressure on us about that. It's all about lobbying. So lobbying is scaling up seriously at the last hour because the bill is on its way to the presidency. So the president made statement in the to the extent that he has not seen a force in the country built up in relation to LGBTQ. So if we can have something in this form that the finance ministry has done, then that will be understandable for the president to say, I will not sign the law. And for me, that's how I see it. We don't have a legal relation that says that if you pass anti-LGBTQ law, then we will not give you money. But the engagement will continue.
All right.
Because those people who are even fighting for right of minority, I'm not sure they will jubilate that because of that all the money that are earmarked to be given to Ghana to develop countries will this issue. I think there is a better forum that this issue should be discussed, and then a common ground should be found for those who have the interest of not ensuring that it takes majority that have the interest in the cultural and family values of the country.
Right, Prof, my final question so that I can let you go. And I'm just reading through the recommendations by the Ministry of Finance. And one of them that caught my attention is like the Ministry of Finance saying that as we don't expect the World Bank to withdraw the finances that it has pledged to Ghana, they use the word may. So that, let's even put that one aside. Inwardly, what they are saying that if the World Bank 3.8 billion, if that money does not come, they say that the GRA will have to embark on a vigorous revenue mobilization drive focusing on implementation of approved measures as well as compliance. What I understood by this is that we are going to possibly introduce new taxes, ensure that every tax is paid, meaning that we're going to put more pressure on the Ghanaian. So whichever way we look at it, the tone of whatever they are communicating to the president say that whatever, whether foreign or domestic, you have to take a position that saves the economy. Either we don't get the money from the World Bank, or we put more pressure on the Ghanaian to pay more taxes. Is that how is that the kind of reading you are putting into this?
I think I don't see it that way. They are just trying to blackmail the entire economy and box it into the pressure that they anticipate if the money does not come. But I did say that the money, those things have been signed already. The World Bank may put pressure on the government not to go a particular direction, but that does not mean the money will come. That engagement will definitely take place. That will not stopping the money from coming. It is the finance ministries who have decided to use this matter to blackmail us. The World Bank has not indicated to them that they will not give us on the account
so
of
Prof, you introduced the word blackmail the economy. Who really wants to blackmail the economy? Is it the World Bank or the Ministry of Finance?
I think that the idea is that the president should not sign assent its signature to the document to become law finally. And what strategy do we put in place to ensure that that doesn't happen? So that is the blackmail I'm talking. Nobody has put a strong statement of withdrawal of those funding to the government or to the country. It is the finance ministry who is possibly thinking that that may happen, and say that that will not happen. But the World Bank will indeed engage the government of Ghana, complain about the development, and seek from the government a way of ensuring that there is some protection given category of people. I think that there is abundant protection under Section 17 for those in that category. But I think those who are fighting believe that those protections are not enough. So that's why the World Bank will be seeking clarification to see whether indeed this group of people are well protected, and not the way the finance ministry has cut the financing at it, and to put pressure on us that if the president doesn't, if the president goes ahead to sign this into law, then our taxes, taxes will come. There is a limit to taxes. If you go beyond that, you will not end your term, because there will be chaos in the entire country. So that kind of blackmail should not come. That kind of blackmail should not come.
All right. Let me say thank you very much for your time this afternoon, Professor Gache. There is an economic professor. John Gache is an economist, and he's been sharing his talks on the implications of the position taken by the finance minister and how that affects our economy going forward. But what exactly is the proponents of the bill? What are they reading into this matter? Emmanuel Bejra is a member of parliament for Ho West and a co-sponsor of the bill. If you're also watching us and you have a comment to make, please leave your comments on our Facebook handles. We have our Facebook and X. Leave your comment there. Do we forgo the passage of the bill and take the 3.8 billion cedis, or we should call the bluff of the World Bank and then stick with the bill passed by Parliament? But where exactly is the bill? Because it was passed by Parliament last Wednesday. This Wednesday will be exactly 1 week, 6th of March. Ghana's independence is exactly 1 week. Is the bill, has it left Parliament to the Jubilee House? Kwaku Asante is our parliamentary correspondent. Kwaku, what do you have on the bill?
Sam George, the lead sponsor on this bill, he tells me that, as in terms of the sponsors, the expectation is that by the end of this week, Cyril Kwabena-Otininsia, the clerk to Parliament, will forward this bill to the desk of the president. In fact, they are waiting for some final touches to be made on the specifics of the bill that was passed by the House last week, because even on the last day, there were certain amendments that were made, and all those T's had to be crossed and the I's dotted. So as soon as that is done, the expectation is that this week, that bill will be dispatched to the desk of the president so that the timelines will kick in already. I'm sure you've played that tape of minority MPs who are really furious about the situation in the country. They're talking about what they believe to be a non-starter, the position that has been raised by the finance ministry, advising the president not to sign it. But some would ask, what are the constitutional imperatives? If the president gets this bill sent to his desk within this week, as per Article 106(7) of the 1992 Constitution, he has 7 days to signify to Parliament whether or not he is intending to sign it or not. If he does not intend to sign it within that 7 days, Article 106(8) also mandates that he has 14 days to present a detailed memorandum written to the Speaker of Parliament, to Parliament through the Speaker, explaining why exactly he is not signing that bill into law, the specifics of the bill, for which reason he is not signing it. We've seen that happen last year when the president refused to sign some private members' bill that had been sponsored by Medina MP Francis Xavier Susu. And so the president would have to do the same thing, bring the memo to Parliament, explaining why exactly he's not signing it. And then by Article 106(10), Parliament can deliberate on this position that have been taken by the president. And then at the end of the day, a vote will be taken. And if Parliament by 2/3 majority agree with the president, they will incorporate that. If they do not, they can use 106(10) to actually pass a veto that will force the hand of the president to sign the bill into law within 30 days of that resolution passed by Parliament, forcing the hands of the president. So the ball is now in the court of Cyril Otininsia, the clerk to Parliament, expected to send the bill that has been passed by Parliament last week to the desk of the president. In fact, there are those in the minority who really believe that time is running. They do not understand why it's taking so long for all these amendments to be incorporated into the bill so that they can go to the president. But of course, the understanding is that the clerk and his team want to do a good job, make sure that every single amendment that was passed by the House finds expression in the bill, and then it will be sent to the House. So Elton, we know as of now that the president is not yet seized with the private members' bill. It has not been said to him, but by the end of this week, the expectation is that the president will have that bill on his desk, and he has to take that tough decision to whether sign it or not. Elton.
Just a final question before I let you go. So if you say that the bill is on the desk of the clerk of Parliament, does it mean that it's gone to the government printing house and it's back in Parliament?
That is the understanding we get, that as far as they are concerned. In fact, I reached out to one of the sponsors to send me a copy of the bill. He did send it to me, but said that he will send another final copy because a few amendments have been seen, and so they have to incorporate that. And so that would mean that this will probably go back to the government printing house so that you can come back to the clerk to parliament to go through and authenticate. But we understand an initial copy had been done, but still some more amendments which have been passed by parliament had not been detailed. And so this will go back to government printing house. They will do so. We expect that is being done as we speak. That is the expectation of the sponsors. This will come back to the clerk. He can authenticate this.
All right, Kwaku, so therefore the question remains, is the pressure on the president not premature? That's not a question for you to answer. I'll put that question to the member of parliament for Ho West who joins us in the studio, and the many others bodies who are calling on the president to give his assent. As now, the president can simply sit down and say that I don't have access to what you are talking about. So what are you asking me to sign? But we'll get to that point very soon. Mr. Bajwa, you're welcome to the pulse.
Thank you, and good afternoon to your cherished listeners and viewers as
of
well. Elton.
So your reaction to this position taken by the Ministry of Finance?
I don't have any reaction. I'm just angry. Simply angry because this is the first time a whole institution, an institution of economic interest, Ministry of Finance, will write to a president that a bill that was passed in the House, he should not assent to it, even though the bill has not gotten to the president. But today, I checked myself. I went to find out. The bill is still in Parliament. It has not gotten to the president. So what has preempted the ministers?
It hasn't even gone to the government printing house.
No, it's gone to the government printing house.
And
they're waiting for the paper,
the stencil.
The stencil paper for which the president will sign. They've not gotten it yet. So our expectation is that when this is a holiday, by Thursday or Friday to come, and then they will send it to the president for him to look at. And so this firefighting by a whole institution of government that the president should not sign, it's neither here nor there. The unfortunate thing, is that we have 3 of our colleagues who are members of parliament who were also in the house.
They didn't voice their
disapproval.
During consideration.
They were even part of the IMF and World Bank negotiations. Honorable Dr. John Kuma, Deputy Minister for Finance, a member of Parliament for Ejisu, whose wife is a minister, the Minister of the Gospel.
You are personalizing it.
I'm coming to that.
Okay.
Why I'm personalizing it. Then we have our own colleague who is now a Minister of State in the office at the Ministry of Finance. At the Ministry of Finance. Abina Osei-Asare. The 2 of them were all with the former minister who negotiated the IMF deal. Then we have the current Minister of Finance, Mohammed Amin, who is also a member of Parliament. Why didn't they voice out that, well, we have reservation because during our negotiation with IMF or World Bank, there are issues that will be coming up. If we pass this bill, it will not be. They didn't say anything. And so for them to come out, 3 of them, in addition to the Governor of Bank of Ghana, the GRA, Chief Commissioner General, and the Chief Director, for them, the 3 or 4 people to come out with this, message, it is making me angry because I still believe that if you are elected member of parliament, leader of that sort, and you have issues, bring it up. But don't wait and start using this as blackmail to those of us who put ourselves forth for the sanctity of our culture to be preserved.
But Honorable, do you accept the fact that they may have their personal position on this matter? And their personal position may be that we are in for the bill. But they also have a professional position to take and to say that we represent the finance ministry and we have looked at the economic implications of this. And this is our advice. They may not be in favor of this, but professionally, this is exactly what they are doing. And you think you have an issue with that?
That's why you are a member of parliament. If you have a professional advice, 2 members or for anything at all, you have to say it. Otherwise, then you keep your mouth shut because as a professional, as a quantity surveyor, if there's anything that is being discussed in the House and I have a professional expertise, I bring it to the fore. Elton, you see, if you look at the whole communique that came out, you read it. First of all, we did not pass any bill in Parliament that is called Proper Human Sexual Right and Ghanaian Family Violence. We did not pass any bill. There's no bill that will have been passed in Parliament of Ghana on the 28th of February called Proper Human Sexual. The bill that we passed is Human Sexual Rights and Family Value Act. That's what we passed. Yes. And so for them to come out, I see it as deceiving Ghanaians. The three of them are deceiving Ghanaians because they were in Parliament when we passed this bill. Why can't they quote, just simply quoting the title, that this is the bill we passed? Today they are telling the whole Ghanaians that we passed a bill that has nothing to do with the bill that was passed. That's the first thing. The second one, if you look at the recommendation given out, that the government should talk to, religious leaders, to convince religious leaders.
In fact, the word they use is that religious bodies and faith organizations, conservative forces, such as religious bodies and faith-based organizations, to communicate the economic implication of the passage of the Anti-LGBTQ Bill and to build a stronger coalition and a framework for supporting key development initiatives that are likely to be affected.
So simply, they are telling us that they should go back, President and government should go back and convince people
why they should not support the bill.
Why he will not assent to it. The president has not seen the bill. How will he go and convince people, religious body, people who of like-minded, that this thing he should not assent to it? He hasn't seen it. Until the president has seen it, then we can now say that yes, it has an economic implication on this country. In fact, if you look at it,
but it is in their place to tell us what the implications are, and that's exactly what they've done.
I said they were in Parliament. We passed this bill. Why can't they tell us in Parliament?
During the consultation, nothing of this nature came up.
The only person who came out with an amendment was our brother, the majority leader. He said he's for the bill. The only problem he has is the custodial sentencing. I mean, everywhere he goes, he says he's for the bill. And so if he is for the bill, what about our three other colleagues? Are they not bold enough to tell the majority leader, even though these are professional advice, so please, let's introduce this and that in the bill? They have not done that. Then today they are hiding behind the ministry to come up. Now, if you look at their communique, you realize that they said the African Development Bank does not have problem with the bill. Now, if African Development Bank does not have problem with the bill, that after the passage of the bill, they will not have problem, adverse effect on our relationship with them. Then what are they talking about? This bill is for Ghanaians. And this bill is for people who are holding themselves as, LGBT community people. And so if African Development Bank, that we have interest in, I think we don't have any problem.
An African Development Bank that the IMF and World Bank have interest in.
Has an IMF written to? I need a letter from IMF stating that we have problem with the bill.
As of last week, they said they were monitoring the developments.
They said they were monitoring. They've not written to you. So why do you have to jump the gun? What is wrong with these people? What is wrong with the minister? And I think by now they should be resigning.
They should resign.
Yeah, the three of them should resign.
For stating a professional position on this matter.
Let me tell you why. Let me tell you. You remember the Minister of Finance when he was doing what we call the town hall meeting before the passage of e-levy. He stated it categorically that we are a proud nation. We will not go to IMF. We believe in ourselves and that Ghana should go beyond aid. That's what the Minister of Finance said, the former Minister of Finance said. And today, you are telling me that those that you say you will not go to, you've gone to them, and they are holding your hand, or presumptuously, they are holding your hand, and you are afraid that this is what they will tell me, and therefore, I should not do this. It is crazy. I mean, it is unheard of. That they have not even told you anything already. You have been beaten and you are sleeping on the floor and said, oh, please, I beg you, don't come and hold the hammer on my head.
And you say that they should resign.
By now they should be resigning.
For telling the president the implications that awaits us.
What implication?
Should this become a law?
Implication?
The implication is that we are on the brink of losing $3.8
billion
US
that
the World Bank.
World Bank has not said they will not give you the money. Have they said it? Is there any letter to that effect? There's no letter. And so what are they talking?
They know more than we don't. So let us assume on the premise that they may be operating with something.
I will not agree with you on assumption. We want to see evidence. The letter that came out, the communique that came out, was a communique from the Minister of Finance. If they have anything, they should bring it up. They should tell Ghanaians that this is from IMF, this is from World Bank. And then we can now argue with IMF and World Bank on that score. Because we are talking of partnership. This is not, it is not that, it is a partnership. We have gone in. It is a loan we are taking, just as the
economist said.
Professor Gatti said. He said we are borrowing and we'll pay back. It is not that you are giving it to us for free. And don't forget that we are also members of IMF as well as World Bank. And so if we, who are partners with you, you want to force your conditionality on us, conditions that were not stated even in the condition before we signed the deal, and you want to bring another condition from outside, then I think we better move out of the international institution like IMF and the World Bank. And I'm happy they said we can go to other the Arab world or China. If that's what they are thinking, then why don't they say that let's go there instead of behaving as if we are kids? I mean, what has come at the outcome of Kwame Nkrumah's African personality? We are, and I love what Ken Ofori-Atta said. They say we are proud people. We should be proud that we are Ghanaians.
But Honorable, are you not worried as representative of the people of Whole West that the school that they are expecting, the new market they are expecting, the new road they are expecting, may be affected?
No, nothing.
May be affected. The funding may not come for them to see progress on these things they are expecting as captured in the 2024 budget, because we're taking a decision that has resulted in the blockage of some financing to help with the implementation of 2024 budget.
Have they given you a letter that they are going to block your money? They haven't said anything. And so if somebody is blackmailing you or using this to blackmail, and as I agree with Professor Gatti, they are blackmailing us, we should not go to it. Look, John, Elton, there is this thing that I saw on the communique that came out. If you read the motto or the vision of Ministry of Finance, just under there, you see it openly, black and white. It says, Ministry of Finance, professional, ethical, efficient, responsive, transforming Ghana beyond aid. Then we are running back to them and said, oh, we have passed a law by our sovereign parliament of Ghana. But the law that we passed, we are afraid that law will offend you. So we beg you, we want to talk to the president not to sign. And you said we are transformative, we are going Ghana beyond aid. But that's why they need to resign.
But you and I know,
of them must resign.
But you and I know that Ghana beyond aid is, for want of a better word.
Well, you are telling me.
For want of a better word.
I don't know. We are not, our viewers who can.
We are not on our own. Clearly, economically, we are not on our own. We still depend on these people for the kind of progress that we want.
So why would the former minister say that we will not go to IMF? He said we are proud people. We have money. Or do you have? If you don't have, I can play it for you now. He said we have money. We will not go to IMF.
But the reality came to dawn on us, and the reality was that we are not capable of managing our own affairs.
So they should apologize to Ghanaians.
We went to the IMF.
That's not the argument.
That's not the reason why we are here.
Yes, they should apologize to Ghanaians. Ken Ofori-Atta should apologize to Ghanaians. But what I'm saying in a nutshell is that these three people, John Kuma, doctor, Abena Osei-Asare, and then Amin Mohammed, doctor, should all bow their head in shame, because when they were negotiating, this bill was in the House since 2001. Why now, after the passage?
But Honorable, if you go to the recommendation, there's a part where they've mentioned that the ministry will continue to engage with the IMF on the alternative, credible sources of funding that will plug the financing gap. So it is not that they've thrown their hands in the air and say that in the absence of all of this, we are doomed. They've given provisions. So, and then one of them I have personal issues with is the fact where they said that GRA to embark on a vigorous revenue mobilization, which I come to the conclusion that this is clearly an attempt to.
It has nothing to do with this law.
But these recommendations and the way forward.
Yeah.
What do you expect the president to do?
Well, I am one of the sponsors, and my expectation is that the president was sent to it, and I believe the president was sent to it. Why? This bill, if you take the survey of Ghanaians, is simply that Ghanaians lauded. They applaud us for passing this bill. And I believe the comments that are coming through your media will attest to the fact that Ghanaians applaud us for passing this bill. This is the only bill that has seen so many reactions, positive and negative reactions. In fact, the negatives are just few. And so the president, if really is a man that we all know, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, that is a man of his own and man of his own word. he should just assent to it to satisfy the majority of Ghanaians, the 90% of Ghanaians who says we don't want this, he should assent to it.
So now you have the bill back on the clerk's table. What is next?
Well, like we all said, when it comes back from the government printer, he has to go through it, word by word, to make sure that all the things that we said and agreed on in the House have been, taken care of. And then he will now put a certificate on it, to prove that it's been passed by the House, and then send it to the President for his assent. Just as your reporter mentioned, he has 7 days to do that. After that, within the 7 days, he can now write to the President, to the Speaker of Parliament, and say, I will assent to it or I will not assent to it.
And now have 14 days to give reasons why.
Why? And then also write to the Council of State, members of Council of State, to also give their opinion. And that opinion will be, sent back to us in the House. Now, I can tell you that if it comes back, 2/3 of members of Parliament will pass it.
Afenyomakin, the majority leader last week, he sat where he was sitting on Friday, said that, whilst he was arguing this case on the floor of Parliament, he was getting text messages from members of Parliament, from the NDC, from the MPP, who told him to push the bill through.
You should ask him to prove
secret ballots. Because, for fear of victimization, a lot of MPs stayed out. That is his position on this matter.
You should have asked him to show it to you, the text message that I can give you my phone, that people are supporting the bill. If you go to Parliament and conduct interview with members of Parliament privately and see the number of persons. Look, I have met, I'll give you one, I can mention one, the former minister the former minister who was just from Uyosu area.
The former environment minister, Dr. Okwekwe-Afriyie.
Dr. Okwekwe-Afriyie told me on Friday that, look, Emmanuel, he's so happy that we've passed this bill. He's a medical doctor. And he told me, look, Emmanuel, in America, when this thing started, it was classified as mentally derailed or mentally ill people. And as a medical doctor, he cannot see a human being having sex with an animal. He cannot stand it. Or he cannot see a human being, a man, having sex with another man. He will not. And he said it has a health implication, which also takes us to economic implication, because you see, those that have been known to have HIV/AIDS are largely from their community. So you have health implications, which translate into economic implications, because you need to buy drugs for these people. You need to give them medical attention. So if we have a law that is preventing people from doing this, it's for all of us to applaud it.
I don't know whether you have been following the reaction. I was on the Facebook page of a Ghanaian who worked with the VOA. And he is gay. Yeah. He associates with the gay community.
He cannot come back to Ghana.
Yeah, he says that he can no longer come back to Ghana because he fears for his life. Let's spend a lot of time on clause 17 and what it says about people in this bracket and the danger they are in with the passage of this bill.
Look, this bill is rather to protect them. I don't know why people do not want to read this bill. Elton, duty Clause 17 of Human Sexual Rights and Family Values Act 2024. Duty to report and prohibition of extrajudicial treatment. 17.1. A person who has knowledge that an offense is committed under this act shall report the commission of the act or the offense to a police officer. Or, in the absence of a police officer, to a relevant authority. And that relevant authority, we in the interpretation, we said a chief, a member of parliament, or assembly member, or the DC. These are the people you have to report to. They are the relevant authority of the community in which the offense is committed. A relevant authority to whom a report is made under subsection 1 shall within 3 days of the report ensure that the report is lodged at the nearest police station. Then 3. You say section 87 to 80, 84 to 87 of the Criminal Offences Act 1960 Act 29 shall apply to a person who commits a misdemeanor if that person if that person verbally or physically abuses, assaults, or harasses a person, A, accuses of an offense under this act. B, suffering from any gender or sexual identity challenged by, including LGBTQI, or any other variant of sexual identity challenge. 4, despite subsection 3, which says that you are not supposed to, if you touch anybody, the Criminal Act, Offences Act will take you on. The use of a graphic description of the behavioral patterns of a person engaged in an activity prohibited under this act for the purposes of education. So this bill will not hold you for the purpose of education or instruction or in response to any form of advocacy or activism. Does not constitute abuse, assault, or harassment.
So if I'm walking down the street, for example, that I'm a gay, I cannot be attacked for the mere fact that I identify with the gay community.
Who should attack you? The law says you should not be attacked. If you hold yourself, as the clause 2 says, you hold yourself that you are gay, I am supposed to take you to the police station. I'm not supposed to attack you. So this law protects you.
But you obviously, people may go to the extreme.
That's why we made a law, because already people have been going to the extreme. Before even the advent of this law, before the inception of this law, people have been killing people. And we said, no, you cannot kill anybody who holds himself that is a gay or found in the act, but rather report the person to the police. And so we are protecting the minority, the same minority that people are talking about. And so people should read the act.
All right, Honorable Beja, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
And then hopefully, when the clerk is done with doing all the correction, the next stage will be now the president. As of now, like I asked Kweku earlier, the pressure on the president, I can say, is premature because he is not seized with the matter yet. Is that the case? All right. So until that is done, we cannot hold him to say that pass it or assent to it or tell us the reason why you cannot do that. We can only wait for the clerk to say that I have dispatched the bill from Parliament House to Jubilee House, and it's just a 3-minute drive.
So, Elton, you and your colleagues here, your producers, have a dinner on me when the president assents to it.
Thank you for that. Thank you so much. The Member of Parliament for Whole West and co-sponsor of the bill, taking us through some of the aspects and reacting to the Minister of Finance position, the advice that they provided President Akufo-Addo as the president await the formal presentation of the bill to him, and then again, MP will also await his signature or not on the bill. This is The Pulse. My name is Elton Bobby. We'll take a short break. We shall be back to talk about the Electoral Commission timetable for election 2024. This is The Pulse here on Joy News and around the world. Welcome back to the show. Now, the Electoral Commission has begun the countdown to the highly anticipated 2024 general election. Commencing this month, the EC will embark on a series of outline activities nationwide, leading to the election day in December. While the announcement has generated interest, it has also sparked mixed reaction, with some political parties citing lack of consultation by the Electoral Commission. My colleague Samuel Mbura joins me with detailed breakdown of the election calendar. Mbura, what exactly is the EC saying?
Yeah, we know that we are in the last month of the first quarter for this year, and a critical year, for instance, election year, for instance, the political parties are waiting anxiously for the Electoral Commission to put out its register. What we have from our sources within the EC is what I am going to break down for you, indicating that they have agreed if nothing changes. This is what they are tabling before the political parties. We know there will be an IPAC meeting on Thursday, and that's what the EC intends to put before them for deliberation. So beginning next month, 1st of April to May 26, the Electoral Commission will start a 56-day public education on the voter registration across the country. So the education alone will take 56 days.
So what this is to prepare the minds of the public ahead of the voter registration exercise?
Exactly. So what you need to know, the do's and don'ts, and why people should be interested. So just to whip public interest in the upcoming exercise. So May 7 to May 27, 2024, there'll be the voters registration exercise. So they'll open for new entrants to come and then do what? Apply and go through the process. On the 30th of May, there'll be a nationwide exercise to replace missing voters' ID. So if your voters' ID is missing, you have the opportunity on the 30th of May to get that replaced anywhere you find yourself in the country. July 9th to 18th will be the submission of the provisional voters register to the political party. So after collating the register and then collecting whatever information that they will need, they will put it before the political parties for further deliberation. And between 15th to 24th of July, there will be the exhibition of the voters register again. They will definitely involve the political parties to raise concerns for any amendment if need be. And if from the 30th of August to the 5th of September, there will be a submission of the final voters register to the political parties after the voters exhibition. So
this will suggest that after the exhibition, the submission will mean that this is the final product.
This is the final product. So if you have concerns, let us deal with them before we get into the main election.
Okay.
So after the submission of the final voters register to the political parties, between September 9 to 13th, there will be nominations of candidates for presidential and parliamentary elections. So if you have a candidate who wants to contest whether on a political party ticket or independent, then this is the opportunity for you to submit your nominations to the EC, and that will be between the 9th to 13th of September 2024.
And I'm guessing that within this same period, the EC will also establish the suitability of the aspirants, whether they are in good standing to contest the elections, and whether or not they are not. And then, so between the September 9 and 13 nomination, you go through. I'm sure there'll be vetting as well, and then to come to a conclusion whether a candidate meets all the constitutional requirements to stand for the presidential election.
Exactly. So from there, they'll move for the balloting. You know, after you go through the process, the next stage is the balloting for positions on the presidential ballots. That will be on the 23rd. Then 24th will be the balloting for parliamentary positions across the country. Then from 24, after the balloting is done, there'll be a special voting for selected professionals. We know the police and other institutions that have the privilege to vote under the special arrangements will also have their voting on the 2nd of December. You know, there's this controversy as to whether the EC is considering bringing it to November or so. You know, there were some controversies and all that. EC says that, okay, we are starting the legal framework this year, but it will take place in 2028. So the election date has remained unchanged. This is what they are going forward with the date and all that. So the main election is on the 7th of December, 2024. And within 3 days of after December 7th, after the election,
the EC is
expecting to declare the presidential results.
All right, this is a very detailed program
exactly
ahead of election 2024. Thank you very much, Samuel Mbura, member of our political desk. So, I mean, what was the reaction of the various political parties? I'm privileged to be joined via Zoom. The Deputy General Secretary of the NDC, Deputy General Secretary of the NDC, Mustafa Bande, the Communication Director with the MPP, Richard Anyagba, and of course, Duke Aaron Sasu, spokesperson and youth leader for the Movement for Change. Gentlemen, thank you very much for your time and welcome to the pause. Let me start with you, Mustafa. You've heard the Electoral Commission. This, according to them, is provisional. They will meet at IPAC on Thursday to firm it up. But what is your general reaction to what the EC has put forth?
Thank you very much, and good afternoon to my colleague Kahiaba and then others at the other side. Well, so to the best of my knowledge, we have been calling for these schedule of work at the EC for a very long time now, and there have been deaf ears. Until Thursday or so, the director of our elections issued a blueprint to the Electoral Commission. Then swiftly, this was followed by a notice of meeting scheduled on the 7th of March. And so to us, that was a good, move for us to discuss the issues as stakeholders. And that would have finished the matter. It's however a surprise that we woke up this morning and there have been publications in the daily graphics to the effect of a timetable of a sort. So we are now asking questions. If the Electoral Commission knew that it had a timetable or some proposed sort of timetable, why is it that in a very long time he hasn't brought that to the attention of the political parties? And if it knew that it was calling for a meeting to discuss these matters, then why put it out? So it looks as if the Electoral Commission is tying political parties' hands behind their back.
How are they doing that?
Whatever we are going to discuss at the meeting, they have gone behind the windows to publish in the graphics. And I'm saying that in the ordinary business of the Electoral Commission, notices are not done in that manner. If the Electoral Commission intends to communicate with the public, it does so in a responsible manner, in a manner that people can respond to it as if it is from Electoral Commission. Now, we are forced to be discussing, speculations and forced to be discussing publications in the dailies. That is not the mode of, publicizing schedules of the Electoral Commission. So what are we discussing? How tentative are these? Will the Electoral Commission come out and say that it wasn't from us, we didn't communicate it officially? So to the best of my knowledge, we are waiting to have a meeting and table our concerns if we have one. But on the hand side, with all the speculations being discussed, I'm concerned that we have not made detailed inputs to guide the Electoral Commission.
Isn't it the reason why you have the opportunity to make that input on Thursday at the IPAC meeting? That is the very reason why the Electoral Commission should not go at the windows and leave the main door. Because we are going on Thursday as political parties to have the opportunity to guide the Electoral Commission in terms of our inputs. The main contenders or contestants in this election will be present at that meeting. All right.
So to have a publication in the news for me as neither here nor there.
I thank you very much.
I'm saying that
if I can just allow, Mustafa, just a minute, if I can just allow Richard Ahiagba and Aaron to also come in, and then I will come and ask you whether or not you find this acceptable or you have any amendments that you want to put forth. I will do that. But let me bring in Mr. Richard Ahiagba of the MPP. He is the Director of Communication. Mr. Ahiagba, so the EC said this is provisional, and they hope to firm it up at IPAC on Thursday. But looking at the timelines, is this something that you can work with?
Well, thank you very much. Good afternoon to my brother, Mustafa, and to your good self, your viewers.
Thank you.
I don't think that political parties can micromanage the Electoral Commission. We are supposed to offer our input, but ultimately, in the nature of things, the EC is independent. So if they so will to consult us through IPAC for input, ultimately, they have a mandate. That mandate allows them to organize elections every 4 years in relation to presidential and parliamentary elections. They have that mandate. We don't share that mandate with them. And so they must execute that mandate given the internal constraints they have and the planning that they have to work to. So for me, this issue is for us to take note and order our own internal political activities to reflect what timing they have come up with. It is not one for us to grandstand about, to say that, oh, they didn't consult us or they went through the window instead of the door. That's just NDC trying to just act as if they are supposed to be managing the EC or they must tell the EC what to do. And I don't think that we should run our democracy that way. And there isn't anything to quibble about. If there is something to quibble about, quite honestly, it is the EC whose timetable, in terms of course, in terms of the day of election that is set, that is going to be December 7th. And so the rest of the planning they have to do, they'll do it consistent with what challenges and flexibilities they have within their organization. So we cannot now begin to impose on them. We are to adjust our planning to them. because they are the referees in the game. I'm not sure the last time my brother Mustafa saw a football game where the team is telling the referee what is foul and what is not foul. It's up to the referee's discretion based on the rules of the game to determine that is and that is. Whether you agree or not, he is the referee and everybody agrees for him to be the referee. So for me, it's something the New Patriotic Party will take note of, and we're going to plan our internal processes to align with what the EC is doing. It's not for us to tell them what they must do and what we agree with or not. By the way, Mustafa and the NDC, they just recently came to IPAC. They were sitting out. So what is this thing about? They have just shown up late in the game and tried to determine how the referee manages the game. They should just order their affairs and come along and let's have an election on December 7th.
All right, I'll come back to you so that we can deal with some specifics, including the voter registration exercise, which obviously always bring about tension between the parties in view of what the EC put forth. But let me pick your initial talks on this matter. Aaron Sasu, from the perspective of the movement for Ghana, is this something that you welcome?
Thank you so much. I believe you meant the movement for change. And special greetings to yourself, to viewers and respectable panelists this afternoon. What I will say is that we welcome the timelines. I think that the timelines are quite progressive. All what we would admonish the Electoral Commission on is on the need to stick to the timelines and not necessarily having random postponement of these timelines, because it affects the planning process of the respective stakeholders within the electoral process. And it also allows for propaganda element to say some way push out the narrative that probably the Electoral Commission is up to something. So sticking to timelines becomes important for us. Once you have laid out that these are the timelines you want to work with, then the Commission should be determined to stick to those timelines. But another important conversation that we believe the Electoral Commission should try to consider is the possibility of admitting independent candidates to IPAC. The reason stems from Article 63 of the Constitution, which does not discuss political parties within the limits of the Constitution. It discusses persons who are vying for the presidency. It means that the individual within the political discourse is the most important element in that regard. The individual who becomes a candidate of the political party is only using the party as a vehicle. At the end of the day, all rules and regulations within the Electoral Commission's ambit should seek to project the ideals or the intentions of the Constitution.
So currently you are not represented at IPAC?
The current Electoral Commission stakeholder engagement does not admit an independent force into the IPAC system. So our recommendation is that the conversations of an independent candidate has become quite prominent within our country. Honorable Alan Chairman, for example, is a prominent force that cannot be ignored within this electoral cycle. And so once an independent candidate is a force to reckon with and a major stakeholder in the electoral process, then for the purpose of transparency, accountability, for the purpose of the people who believe in that independent candidacy to have that confidence in trust in the Electoral Commission, then they should be admitted to the IPAC to ensure that conversations are rightly agreed on. But less that, we are confident that the timelines are not ones that will bar our performance in the electoral process.
But Duke, before you present me also, I mean, you want representation, but first step would be to write to the EC and say that we want to be represented. Have we done so?
So that is not what I cannot discuss that here, because there is a team structure that addresses that.
All right.
But what I wanted to put out there is that the EC should open up for that. So two things. The opening up is where the EC himself says that, listen, we are welcoming independent stakeholders, or where we are also writing to them. But at the end of the day, it will be a decision of the Electoral Commission as to whether they want to accommodate same or not.
All right.
And so what we are saying is that they should be prepared to accommodate whether we are writing or whether they are inviting us.
All right. Now let's deal with the specific issues. Let me bring in Mustafa Bandi at this very moment. So what caught my attention was the fact that the EC, according to this proposed timetable, wants to dedicate April 1 to May 26, 56 days of public education on the voter registration exercise. And then after, the voter registration exercise will take place between May 7 and May 27. I know this is just a sketch. The EC in the coming days may want to put some flesh on it. Now, one of the key issues that dominated media discussion was whether or not going into 2024, the issue relies solely on the Ghana card for the registration purposes. If that should happen, then there should be a CI that will go to Parliament to regulate the registration of voters onto the voters register. As we look forward to this day, what is the position of the NDC on this matter?
Thank you very much. And first of all, let me address this. In the NDC, we do not relate to the Electoral Commission by reference to Dankwa Institute. We rely solely on the Constitution of Ghana and CI 127, including any relevant law that guide our institutions in terms of conduct of institutions and their business. As we speak today, there is no document formally before political parties. I'm surprised that my brother is seeking to communicate from a document that is not properly before the MPP, except he will admit that by some opportunity, they are aware long before time that what the timetable stands for. As we speak today, there's no document before. So what are we speaking to? We would be dealing with speculations, and we don't speak to speculations. Like I said, the Electoral Commission has invited the NDC for an IPAC meeting. These are among other issues that will be tabled for discussions at IPAC. If we get to IPAC, the things that we agree with, we'll discuss indoors. Then if we have disagreements, we can come outside the table. But to come and be, using the back door where you expect us to speak to the issues in public, that is not the forum for us to discuss critical issues like preparing a timetable. And I'm saying that the Electoral Commission must admit that IPAC is a forum for all political parties to, make inputs, including what my brother just said. I'll be happy that they will grant the independent aspirants the opportunity to join IPAC. But the MPP will fight it tooth and nail because they know that movement of change joining IPAC means that they are dead. They will be criticized because movement of change is a baby, a thrown out baby of the MPP. And so they will never agree. So I'm looking forward for us to discuss these issues at IPAC as stakeholders so that we can make genuine input into what the Electoral Commission has. We are not against the Commission. Ghanaians are not against the Commission. Ghanaians are only open to processes that are transparent, proposals that are feasible, activities that gives credibility to the work of the Electoral Commission so that it can deliver on its mandate. The mandate of the Electoral Commission is so crucial that it cannot be compromised. And
but that is what true. But going through this proposed timetable, what input will you want to put forth?
I have not read what you are reading from. Like I said, I've heard that there was some publication in the graphics. Ayaba knows that institutions like the Electoral Commission do not communicate to political parties through the back door. Nobody does that. It has never happened. And so I cannot be talking to speculations. I can only speak when the subject matter is tabled at IPAC. Or if it is not tabled at IPAC, then we can say that EC have denied political parties the right forum to make inputs. Until then, what am I going to talk about? We don't just get up and be responding to issues of law. The Electoral Commission is a creature of law. It's not a creature of government like Dankwa Institute, where Ayaba is sitting and talking from. It is a creature of law, and the law must work. We respond to the Electoral Commission with the law.
Mr. Richard Nagba, as far as I know, is the communication director of the MPP and doesn't speak for the Dankwa Institute on this show. But let me bring him in.
Dankwa Institute.
Let me bring him in for
authoritative intellectual law firm. That's where they pick all their mischief from.
Right.
But I do know that the Electoral Commission is a creature of law.
Let me allow some reaction from Mr. Richard Nagba. Mr. Nagba, I mean, this is a proposal. The EC says they will firm it up on Thursday, but the timelines provided, registration of voters, they will flesh it out in the coming days. You want to make an input, or you think that this is satisfactory enough?
Yeah, thank you. So, I was just trying to refer my brother, he didn't talk about the Constitution. He's talking about some other document. The Constitution is clear on what the EC must do. They are not subject to anybody's remote control regime or anybody telling them what to do. They have a mandate. That mandate, if the EC decides that, okay, they want to do the election on November 7th, that is a conversation, it's a constitutional issue. We have to look at it. But matters to do with when they want to do voter registration and all of that, it is internal administrative timetable that they have to make. That one is not subject to any law, it's not subject to anybody's review. It is for us, the New Patriotic Party, to say, okay, well, now the EC said they will do this on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. What do we do in our own planning so we can align? It is for us to align. It is for them to issue a timetable. If they say they are going to do it on in 1 week and we don't like it, we can appeal to them, but we cannot subject them to our recommendations. And so that's the point I'm making. Whether it is properly before us or not, the idea is that the right to make any timetable is theirs. So if they have put one and decide to put it in the newspapers, and you, as a legitimate news house, you have verified and you ensure that this is document that is worth conversation, then let's speak to it. For me, it is okay. If we have any concerns at all, we cannot force them to change it. So we'll align ourselves. If indeed by close of day tomorrow, that becomes the status quo, we'll just work to align our internal processes. As for my brother, Mustafa, you allow him some small space for mischief, because as our presidential candidate just said recently, they are running out of ideas. So this mischief can sustain them until they come by some groundbreaking ideas. But for now, they are running dry, and mischief is the only way they can engage.
Do you have anything to add?
Yes, so it's just to reiterate the fact that we have every confidence in the Electoral Commission. What we will say is that they should once again stick to the timelines. And I think I just needed to reiterate that. And when you interfere with the timelines that you have set yourself, the speculations end up, being driven out there. But once again, we would insist strongly on the need that a force like Alan Chairman's Movement for Change should be given audience on IPAC. And that is what I want to reiterate again. I was hoping that my big brother, Mr. Richard Ayamba, would have mentioned one or two on that. But since he's trying to...
This is a matter for the Electoral Commission, not for Richard.
I was hoping you pass a comment on that, but he seems to be avoiding the conversation about the movement. But anyway,
if you indulge me, I think that they are trying their best. It adds to our political process, but I think that they should just pack baggage and come home. What efforts they are engaged in is not going to amount to anything. They should come back home where they belong.
It's extremely funny how my big brother speaks on these matters, because interestingly, I think that if there is a force that you don't want to underestimate, is the movement for change. And it's unfortunate that...
No, I don't underestimate you. I'm only saying that come home.
If I may land quickly, it's unfortunate that the NPP will be leaving power in such a manner. But what we are hoping for is that within the context of NPP going into opposition, they would also allow for broader discourse, and they would be part of the trumpeters of the discourse for further and broader engagement within IPAC. And we are hoping that such goodwill is one that they will be leaving power with and will leave in office with. I'm sure that my big brother that's something that my big brother will want to engage on, and gladly he will.
Right. So Mustafa, I'd like to give you the final word on this matter.
Basically, the NDC is not against the Electoral Commission. We are willing to work with the Electoral Commission, and we will always work with the Electoral Commission. Let them confidently come out clean and sit with stakeholders. We call stakeholders because without stakeholders, then you are making the rules for yourselves. We can make things better if we engage to see how best the election can be feasible within the timelines of the Electoral Commission, that our resources can be judiciously applied within the constraints of our budget, and to ensure that we create the enabling environment for all Ghanaians to demonstrate their power through a vote. That is all the argument. That is the conversation. As for rigging an election, we are well awake, and I'm sure that on 7th, when we appear in that IPAC meeting, we'll discuss as a family, we'll discuss as stakeholders to find the best solutions, the best support that we can help for Electoral Commission to achieve its objective within the context of credible, free and fair electioneering process.
All right, thank you very much, Mustafa Gbande. He's a Deputy General Secretary of the NDC. And before you go, the Thursday date still stands for your running mate matter. Nothing has changed?
Still stands. That is why the MPP is busy manipulating all angles, go and attack the NDC this way. How? Go and schedule a date for the day that we are confirming our running mate for IPAC meeting. But we are ready for election. We are going to announce a very credible candidate that they are afraid of. Richard Agbihagban knows that his candidate, is deficient of integrity and credibility. That is what they fear. They can say all the things in this world, but who trusts them? Ghanaians cannot take their word for anything. If Dr. Bawumia speaks, Ghanaians will have to be running away because he's not a man who lives by his words.
All right, thank you very much, Mustafa Gbande. Thank you so much, Mustafa, for joining me. Regina Hyagba, just 30 seconds. I didn't know that you guys are behind, the EC holding of IPAC on Thursday.
Yeah, the NDC, because they can't win the election, they always blame the EC. Last time, you remember in 2020, they said they won the election, and their general secretary, now chairman, said no, they lost it, but he advised them and they refused. But you see, in terms of credibility, I think that the election is a contrast between Dr. Bawumia and the former president. The former president, his verdict card is clear. Ghanaians vetted him, and they know he's not credible. So they voted him out massively. The challenges we're having today is a challenge that everybody is going through. We believe that the economy is coming back. The NDC sees it. They don't have a message. All they have to offer is some bogus idea of 24 hours now. As the sunshine goes on that idea, people are beginning to understand that it's a scam. It is nothing in there, and they don't have anything to propose. You asked my brother Mustafa, it is a couple of months to election. What is their big idea? They don't have any idea. Their plot is to attack Bawumia, to call him a liar, but that is not going to work. Ghanaians know who Bawumia is. Ghanaians knows who Mahama is. He is the one that Ghanaians have vetted and disapprove of.
All right, thank you very much.
And hello.
Thank you very much. Let's leave it, gentlemen. My time is up on this matter. I gave everybody the opportunity to say some few words on other matters. So let us leave it here. So you heard the Director of Communication with the MPP, Richard Ahiagba, the Deputy General Secretary of the NDC, Mustafa Gbande, and of course, Duke Aaron Sasso, the youth wing of the Movement for Change. This, Duke, this is the pause here on Joy News. We will take a short break. We shall be back. Let's turn our attention to education now, because some 250 students of the Joso Senior High Technical School have been displaced following a rainstorm that ripped off a dormitory block of the school. The downpour ripped off the roofing of the oldest block of the school, which landed on high-tension cables and the school main gate. The Krapa MA Junior High School and the Joso Experimental Schools also had their roof ripped off. My colleague, Ohem Interior, who visited the school, says authorities have sought temporary shelter in a warehouse for the affected students.
Sunday, the first Sunday of the month, the day set aside by school authorities of the Joso Senior High Technical School to allow parents and guardians to visit their wards. It comes less than 24 hours that rainstorm devastated the school's oldest dormitory block, ripping off the roof. This means students are not only stranded, but the academic work is disrupted. Municipal Chief Executive for Joso, Samuel Odro-Frimpong, who led officials to visit the school, says efforts are being made to resolve the issue of accommodation for students of the Joso Senior High Technical School.
The sheets fell on the high tension wires. The ECG people are also here to help remove the wires and to ensure that power is restored to the school. So in the evening, we help the boys to sleep in one of their classrooms. So this morning, together with the presiding member, honorable members, assembly members here, the PTA chairman, I had already informed my member of parliament, Dr. John Pontiekuma, who tasked that this morning I come with assembly engineers to come and do the proper assessment so that we can get the estimate for bringing back the roofing. But because the boys slept in the classroom yesterday, that was a temporary measure. We needed to get a place for them this morning. Lucky enough for us, PBC, they have some buildings around. So we contacted the regional manager, and he has given us one of the rooms. At the moment, we are doing the cleanup exercise there to make sure that we put the place in shape to transfer all the 150 boys to the place so they can have a place to put their head.
Saturday's heavy rainfall did not only affect Ejoso Senior High Technical School, but also affected Ejoso Experimental School and that of Krapa MA Basic School. Municipal Chief Executive Samuel Odo Frimpong tells Joy News the Municipal Assembly is collaborating with the Member of Parliament for the area to find lasting solution to the issue.
This is the oldest building so far as the school is concerned. It's been here for almost 80 years. So no wonder it was affected by the rains yesterday. We will rely on the report from the engineers, whether we need to pull down the whole building or just maintain the existing one. So this morning we met the entire student population. We have given them all the needed assurance.
There are calls for the school to be closed down temporarily, but Municipal Education Director Kwabena Owusu says school authorities are collaborating with the Municipal Assembly to find an amicable solution to the problem.
They are about to vacate for the semester, but you see, unfortunately this happened. I believe if God should have heard our prayer, we should have prayed that this thing should have happened during vacation, but it never happened so. They are about to have their examinations by the end of this semester. Some of them are going to prepare for WASI. They have to be trained, and because of these issues, it's going to affect them a great deal. You see, they have a lot of syllables to go through. I don't think that they have completed all their syllables for the semester. So we believe that we have to, sit down with the head of the institution, discuss about how best we have to vacate very early for them to go to their various homes. Whereas we also look at the structure and try to put them right.
From Ejoso, for Joy News, Ohime Interior reporting.
Also, an 8-year-old class 3 pupil, Akuya Nkuma's dream of becoming a midwife just like her mother is gradually fading away as doctors say she needs an urgent bone marrow transplant treatment after she was diagnosed with cancer of the blood cells, leukemia. Akuya's mother says the family does not have the resources to raise $88,000 required for the treatment. She's appealing to benevolent support for support. Master Boba has more in this report.
8-year-old Ikuya lies on a bed at the pediatric oncology unit of the Kolebu Teaching Hospital. The once active tennis player for her school is unable to move any part of her body. She's weak and the clock continues to tick on her deteriorating health condition. Seated by her side holding her hand is her mother, Sharon Nadu Ankoma. Ikuya's mother, a midwife, has been confined to the Kolebu Teaching Hospital as a result of her daughter's condition. She has been describing the processes leading to Ikuya being diagnosed with leukemia, cancer of the blood.
So she's very active. She's not a sickler. She has never been diagnosed of any previous illness. She does a day in and day out activities normal. But later part in November last year, I realized she gets this temperature which is on and off. It comes and goes, comes and goes. So in December, when she's going to school, sometimes she will refuse actually. Then there are times she'll tell me she will go. Then I also observe that she's having temperature. Then one day I just saw these lymph nodes. There was one here and one just behind the ears. I thought maybe it's one of those things that will go. And later I saw she's having this yellowish discoloration of the eyes. It was very yellow. So when I saw that, when you see this yellow thing, it's either the liver or the kidney which is at stake. So I just took her to the children's hospital where we saw the doctor. We did the tests, we ran the full blood counts. But the WBCs were so high, the white blood cells were so high. And she was also having distended abdomen. It was a little bit bigger than the normal. Then the scan proved that the liver is enlarged, the spleen is also enlarged. Then this yellowish discoloration may be as effect of the liver. So we ran a series of tests. We even had some to be sent to India for confirmation. We did something they call the flow cytometry, which came and they confessed it's an acute lymphoblastic leukemia.
Sharon says the family is in urgent need of $88,000, which is the total cost of medical treatment in India.
And I don't know how we are going to raise such an amount. And she is also not going to be fit if the bone marrow transplant is not done. Yes, she is growing weaker and weaker by the day.
Here at this ward, I've met Ekuya's 19-year-old brother, Edward Ivan Denny Ankuma. He says he's surprised his once active sister is unable to move any part of her body now. He's also appealing for support.
No, she's brilliant and active. She's interested in sporting activities. I'm support her. Let's try their best. So she gets well. We also do our part.
Senior resident at the Pediatric Oncology Unit of the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, Michael Akboke, says Ikuya needs an urgent bone marrow transplant.
So we have started to treat her as we usually do after confirming the diagnosis. And for some months now, it seems the results we're getting is that this type of leukemia is not responding to the regular treatments that we usually offer. So that would mean a more aggressive approach, okay? So that's why we are proposing that as soon as possible, the Kia needs to get bone marrow transplantation to have a chance at cure. So as soon as possible. So what we're doing is to do our bit to keep the cancer cells from continuously multiplying. But the earliest we can get her transplanted, the better. Most cancers in children, unfortunately, we can't pinpoint, unlike in adults where we know if you smoke or you take a lot of alcohol or exposure to lots of things. Yes, those are the things we know. But for children, peculiarly, we don't seem to be able to pinpoint environmental contributors to the cancers. We know, for instance, if the child has been exposed to radiation, so things like X-ray, the tests that we do, or CT scans, if it has been exposed a lot, then there is a risk of her getting leukemias. Or if the mother was exposed during pregnancy, there's also a risk of the child getting leukemias. Sometimes there are some genetic factors that the children are born with that predisposes them to getting this cancer of the blood.
Well, lend a hand for Ekuya's treatment if you can. The cost of treatment is $88,000 United States dollars, and you know where to. The details are provided under. Well, that's our show for today. For more stories, log on to our website, myjoyonline.com. Some of the stories making news on myjoyonline.com. Transport fares set to increase by 30% effective March 7. Finance Ministry fears losing $3.8 billion in World Bank financing if anti-LGBTQ+ bill becomes law. Election 2024. EC to conduct voters registration exercise from May 7 to 27. My name is Elton Grobe. Tomorrow we'll meet same time 3 p.m. for another exciting edition of The Pulse. Elton.